4th and goal with Tobin and Keiper. I'm Keiper.
And I'm Tobin.
First things first, the tie has officially been broken with our picks. Last week, I went another sub 500. This is my 3rd. I've gone 3 weeks, not in a row, but so far this year, 3 weeks that I've gone below 500. 6-7, and you went 7-6. And
Go Cleveland!
And the only The only reason why I went 6-7 is because you convinced me not to believe in the factual proof that the Jets always win on odd-numbered weeks.
How did I convince you? I was saying I begged you to take the Jets.
No, because you were like, "Oh, come on, pick the Jets,
pick
please."
The Jets. I dare you. That's what I said.
Well, I didn't, and I should have, because then I would have went 7-6 also. And you also would have went, well, because you picked New Orleans like I did and lost the game.
Mm-hmm.
So, either way, the tie's been broken. We'll do our picks later on. But for right now, I'm going to start it off and I'm going to talk about it. And then what I want to make clear first is I'm going to sort of give a quick little opinion on this. And you have told me that you're not going to talk about it because if you had to talk about it, you would actually walk out.
Yes.
And not participate in the recording today.
I'm tired of it already.
Because you're tired of hearing about it. So I'm going to sound off on it real quick. I just want to talk about the Dolphin scenario with Richie Incognito. The report, it was just released, I want to say about an hour ago, a little bit less than that. Because currently it's about, I want to say 7:30, 8 o'clock Eastern time. And it was released about an hour ago. That Ryan Tannehill, I think I'm right. That's about what time it is.
It's 10 to 9.
Oh, really? Well, it's a little bit later than I thought. Ryan Tannehill was asked about the situation with Martin and Incognito. And to sort of paraphrase it and summarize it, Tannehill basically said that Martin and Incognito were seemingly, to the naked eye, very close friends. And he sort of defended Incognito in, I guess, whatever way you can manage to defend him. But, so this has been going back and forth. He's been suspended indefinitely from the team. And everyone knows by now that Coach Philbin has actually, he approached Incognito and asked him, to toughen up Martin for some ungodly reason. And I was looking at a lot of responses on Twitter and a lot of things that people were saying. And really the only one that I sort of agreed with 100% without, reading it saying, well, maybe, but that's not really the case. You can argue the point above. The only one that I saw that really stuck in my head was, if you are a grown man playing in the National Football League and you allow yourself to get bullied, that's on you. That's on you. That's not, I don't care if it's sanctioned from a coach. I don't care if there's a purpose behind it. I don't really care if it, and don't get me wrong, what he said, that whole voicemail, with the racial slur in it, I get that. And we're in an era where, in the offseason, the whole thing with Riley Cooper, what happened in Eagles training camp when he got into a fight with his teammates, and we all know about that story and about the racial aspects of these stories and how it can affect, I guess, some people's opinions. But it's still the topic of bullying. That's really the core issue. And I think that Martin just sort of up and leaving the team because Incognito was bullying him and being mean to him is, it's basically, if he gets signed from any other team, regardless of who they are, I don't care what team it is, they could have the best locker room reputation on the planet, they're gonna be afraid to hug him. They're gonna be so like, oh man, this guy is real sensitive, this guy doesn't like being, and it's just, you're in the National Football League, you're a grown man, and someone that says that to you on the phone, and then someone who is apparently, and I guess because we've had mixed reports of people saying they were really friendly to each other when they were in public, and then you have other people saying he was really tough on him and mean to him and said all these things to him. You need to, in a way, it's a player-to-player thing. It's not like a player-to-coach thing. You have to take care of it as a man and treat it like you're a man and say, this is someone who's, being very disrespectful to me for no reason at all. And take it upon yourself to solve it. I'm not trying to say resort to, I'm not trying to say Martin should have walked over and punched Incognito in the face. Or, when they were practicing, rip his helmet off and hit him with it. But just up and leaving the team, I mean, that's just, in a sick, weird way, you kind of let the bully win if you do that. And Richie Incognito is a good enough player that he's not going to be off a team. They praised him and said that he was like a leader in the locker room, and he was one of the best guys on, one of the best vocal guys, and he was a leader, and he's not going to be on the streets for very long. So I'm in your boat with the whole fact that I'm sick of hearing about it. And I don't know whether or not it's affecting the Dolphins at all, but if it is, I really don't care. It's just one of those things that Richie Incognito is the bad guy in this, but I guess you can also sort of blame Coach Philbin. You can sort of blame Martin for taking it the way he did. You can blame his teammates for not saying anything. It's just a big blame fest. And everyone's just pointing fingers at everybody else. And I think it's just a distracting storyline that seemingly always happens during the NFL season. Something always happens off the field. Not necessarily the same thing. These little tidbits stories that don't mean anything, that it happens and the media obsesses over it, and quite frankly, I'm sick of it, but I needed to make my opinion clear on it. I don't want Tobin to just storm off and leave the show and not participate, so we're going to drop it there. That's my opinion on it. If it develops any more and it actually turns into something that might be really bad, really, really, really bad, I'm sure it'll come back up. But for right now, that's all I have to say on the matter. So we good?
We're good.
We're good? All right, we're good. Speaking of the Dolphins, though, first thing I kind of wanted to bring up was going into this season, before the season started, we jumped into this show, on week 6.
Yeah.
So this hasn't been something that we've been able to keep track of most of the time. Actually, I wanted to bring it up really early, but we never got around to it because a lot of different stuff was going on. The Miami Dolphins, before the season started, were, at least in my opinion, and I think in a lot of other people's opinions, a potential playoff team. Can we agree on that? A lot of people thought that.
They looked pretty good, yeah.
Yeah, they looked good. Maybe it was because a lot of people fell in love with Mike Wallace, and me being a Pittsburgh fan, I knew Mike Wallace wasn't going to do that well in that system, and he hasn't been. He's had bright spots, occasional games, but as a whole, he's not doing very well in the Dolphins. Brian Gibson is doing better for the Dolphins than Mike Wallace is.
I still consider Hartline the number 1 on that team. Mike Wallace is the 2. Hartline is the 1.
Hartline is the... You can make the argument Charles Clay is the 1.
He's a tight end. He doesn't get...
No. Jimmy Graham is the number 1 receiver for the Saints. You can easily say Charles Clay, with the season he's put together, out of absolutely nowhere, that he's the number 1. But anyway, the reason why I bring it up is because Miami is one of the teams that I'm going to bring up in this category of teams that going into this season had expectations and are not meeting them. And the first one I want to bring up to you, and I'll let you bring one up to me because I know which one you're going to bring up to me because it's obvious. The one I'm going to bring up to you is Atlanta. And the reason why I want to bring up Atlanta to you is because Atlanta has one of your former players, which is Tony Gonzalez. And the story last year was that Atlanta was the best team in football. Correct?
Yeah, that was basically it. They were
the best team in football.
Yeah.
And Tony Gonzalez was going to retire.
Yeah.
At the end of the year, and they had the mindset, we're going to win one for Tony.
Kind of like what the Ravens did for Lewis.
Exactly. But it didn't work. And Tony Gonzalez, at the end of the season, basically just, sort of accepted the fact, hey, I said I was going to retire. We all thought he was going to retire. But after a while, he changes his mind. Says, I'm going to come back, play again.
He's not the first person to do that.
I know he's not the first person to do that, but the reason why I bring it up is because look at this year for Atlanta as opposed to last year. I think what every single professional athlete wants to do, and Kobe said it a couple months ago during the offseason in the NBA when they were talking about Kobe and about how he will eventually retire. He said, I want to leave the game knowing I can still play it. Every player wants to do that. Tony Gonzalez wants to do that. Tony Gonzalez wants to leave the league knowing he can still play. It's obvious he can still play. It's obvious he's probably still going to be able to play next year.
Yeah, that's why he's getting double covered on when Atlanta has no one else right now.
Exactly. However, because Atlanta is doing so bad this year, and it's partially because of injury. I understand that there's nothing they can do about it. You can't help Julio Jones going down. You can't help Roddy White going down. You can't help Steven Jackson going down. But it just seems like Harry Douglas has been doing well, first of all. Let me make one thing clear. Harry Douglas has actually been doing very well covering for those two guys. Tony Gonzalez is always very good. But this team is not what they were last year. So the thing I want to bring up is, should Tony Gonzalez have retired last year?
Yes. He should have stayed retired last year. He should have stayed retired, signed a one-day deal with Kansas City, because that's the team where he made his name, and then they retired the jersey week 2 when they played Dallas, because that was the first home game.
So you think that's what he should have done?
Yeah.
As opposed to this year, which is now
it's bust. It's a bust.
It's a bust year. It's a draft position year for Atlanta. Whereas last year they were the best team in football and made it to the NFC Championship. That just seems like a better note to go out on, especially for the greatest tight end to ever play the position.
Well, look at it this way. You can't all go out like John Elway, winning back-to-back Super Bowls.
No, I'm not trying to say that.
Let's see. Joe Montana, he ended his career getting pretty much beat up.
Yeah.
In the playoffs, though, but he was getting beat up. Brett Favre ended his career getting beat up. I'm bringing quarterbacks up here, but still. Irvin ended his career with a broken leg, I think, at Philadelphia.
Mm-hmm.
Aikman had concussions that knocked him out permanently. Emmitt Smith spent 4 years in the desert being dreadful. Really great players just don't know when to hang it up, and they stay around until they become irrelevant. Like even Jerry Rice, who was voted #1 player all time.
And he is.
He got cut from 2 teams before. He had to be cut from 2 teams, Denver and Seattle, before he finally quit.
That doesn't take away anything from those players, though. Like
No,
I'm not trying to say that Tony Gonzalez is his reputation. And
Tony G's still #1 tight end all time.
I know he's still going to be, and he's still going to be that. But what I'm saying is, in hindsight, if Tony Gonzalez is sitting in his home right now, is he thinking I made the right choice to come back?
No,
absolutely not. So it's just like a sad truth. Like it's just exactly what you brought up, that really great players don't know when to hang it up. Sometimes, players can come along, they're successful, and then they quit, just like Kobe Bryant said, they quit ahead of the game. And a part of me really wishes Tony Gonzalez would have done that, but another part of me is I just like watching Tony play. So I'm kind of happy that he stayed. But another part of me is like, wow, he's playing on a terrible team. He's getting triple. I think I saw a game he was tripled in the end zone.
Ooh. I'm
pretty sure. I can't, don't quote me on that, but I'm pretty sure I saw a game where he was tripled.
And he deserves that kind of coverage, especially with Julio and Roddy down.
Yeah. I mean, even with Julio and Roddy, you should double them anyway. But still. So that's Atlanta. You can go ahead and bring up...
Are you expecting me to bring up Pittsburgh?
Yes.
All right, then I will. Pittsburgh Steelers, the perennial playoff team with the, quote, aged defense. They're not really aged. Their average age is like 28 or something. But everybody says, oh, they're old. It's just because their star players are old. And it's basically the same problems they've had for years. They haven't really had a stable running back since Bettis left. They haven't created, they haven't gotten an offensive line for Ben
since Arizona.
Since the Arizona Super Bowl game. And Palomalu is basically the defense. Especially since they let go of Harrison. I mean, Harrison, he got fined a lot, but he was a good player.
Yeah. Palomalu plays every single level of the defense.
Yeah.
Like, every single level. He plays DB, he plays linebacker, he plays D-line.
And he does that thing where he just jumps at the snap and sacks you.
He's tried it, to my knowledge, 3 times this year, and 3 times he's failed. Like, all 3. If that's not a sign of changing times in Pittsburgh, Troy Polamalu's trademark jump the line at the snap move has failed 3 times. When I'm pretty sure it succeeded 3 times before. Like, the most famous one is the Tennessee one.
Yeah.
When they were on the goal line. That one, that was up for greatest play of all time. But here's what I'll say about Pittsburgh. And I have to make clear that going into this season, I had the mentality that I wouldn't have been surprised if by January we were 12-4 and won the division. But I would also not have been surprised if we were 8-8 and missed the playoffs. Now, it's obvious which one of those two is more likely now. But the sad truth, and any Steeler fan
worth their salt.
Any Steeler fan worth their salt that disagrees with my next statement, you have something wrong with you.
You are too much of a homer.
Yes, you're too much of a homer if you don't agree with this statement. Pittsburgh fans are spoiled. Pittsburgh Steeler fans are spoiled.
They're basically the Yankees.
The Pittsburgh Steeler fans are basically the Yankee fans of the NFL. Because every single season, we go into that year thinking that our team can get to the Super Bowl. And team analysts and sports news broadcasters and radio, everybody, you're going to hear at least 1 or 2 people say that Pittsburgh is, and this is the exact sentence they'll use, you always have to consider Pittsburgh. You always have to think about Pittsburgh. And it gets in fans' heads that we're always a good team.
Even with quarterbacks like Bubby Brewster, Mike Tomczak, Neil O'Donnell, Cordell Stewart.
Yeah,
and
Tommy Maddox.
Touchdown Tommy.
Yeah, touchdown Tommy. I like to call him turnover Tommy. But, I lean to the other side of that. But, and I'm even a victim to it. Because I literally went into this year thinking we could make the playoffs. And win and beat out Cincinnati. Like, I literally thought with what you said, the quote-unquote aging defense, which I didn't think it was old last year when we had James Harrison and Casey Hampton and Larry Foote. I didn't think it was old even then. Now, all the old players are either gone or hurt. So, we have young players playing, and we're not doing that great. Palomalu's having an okay year. Woodley's having an okay year. Our D-line's below average. Our offensive line is dreadful. Ben can't get, cohesive play from his wide receivers. They're messing up routes. Le'Veon Bell has been doing well since he got the starting job. But before that, our running game was horrendous.
I think the number 1 back at that point was Felix Jones, and that is a sad statement.
Yes, Felix Jones as a number 1 back is a terrible, terrible scenario to be in.
Sorry, Cowboys fans, you knew it. There was, this. Dallas hasn't had a running game either, so
yeah. and it's a shame because, like I said, every single year, Steeler fans go into the season, most of them, in the back of their mind, believing truly that we can make the Super Bowl. And we're spoiled. We are completely spoiled in that sense. And it's not like it's a bad thing. That's what every fan dreams of. That's what every fan goes to bed thinking, man, I wish my team was so good that every single year we had a chance to make the Super Bowl. But when your team is like that and then they don't, they have...
What have you done for me lately? And you boo.
Exactly. You boo. And you start pointing fingers. You start blaming people. Everybody's blaming Todd Haley. I'm not blaming Todd Haley. The reason why I'm not blaming Todd Haley is because Todd Haley runs an offense. Ready for this? Todd Haley runs an offense exactly like the offense that the Kansas City Chiefs run. The only problem is the Kansas City Chiefs are a good team. And that's what that offense looks like. And that's what that defense... The Steelers are if the Kansas City Chiefs were bad.
Oh, you mean Todd Haley's last year with them?
Exactly. That's literally what it is. Like, the system... the ball control, dink and dunk, run the ball, wide receiver screen, that offense can work. It can work. And it could completely wear defenses down if you have the players to execute it. And we simply don't.
No.
We simply don't.
Roethlisberger and company, they're more set up, well, not the offensive line, of course, but they're more set up to do what Haley's other two teams that he coached for, Arizona and Dallas, did.
Yes.
And that was drop back, throw it deep.
West Coast, basically. Just West Coast, throw the ball deep all the time, run the ball occasionally, That's what they're set up for, and it's just, I can't blame a coach for personnel issues. I can't blame a coach who's trying to do something with players that can't do it. I'm blaming the players. You have to blame the players.
Yeah.
I mean, it's hard, really, to sit and think about it. I'm like, we're a bad team. It's hard to say that. It's really hard to say that because all my life all I've known is that we're consistently at least a good team.
It is something, because I think this is going to be the first time since Cleveland came back to the league that Pittsburgh has not finished ahead of them.
We don't know that yet. They still got to play each other twice. And if we know anything, Pittsburgh beat Baltimore. And if Pittsburgh can beat Baltimore, Pittsburgh can beat Cleveland. And, they took Cincinnati down to the proverbial wire, in a sense. The game was closer than the final score indicated. But, that's... And it's a shame. Like I said, Steeler fans, we're spoiled. Anyone that doesn't agree with that is a homer and doesn't want to face the facts. Steeler fans are spoiled. And this year is we reap what we sow sometimes. The other team that I guess falls...
One last thing on Pittsburgh fans.
Yeah.
Don't pretend that you didn't watch the game when your team lost. I don't want to hear this... Oh, it's just a game thing. When you're all going, oh, we're getting number 7 every time the Steelers start off good. Okay? Just a PSA.
You really hate Steeler fans.
I've grown up with a lot of Steeler fans who were very arrogant until their team lost and then they didn't want to talk.
That's kind of like me. But I haven't done that to you. So we'll go on from that. The other team that I guess sort of fits this is Washington. A lot of people had high hopes for Washington this year, even despite the RG. I was one of them. I literally had Washington winning like 12 or 11 games this year.
No.
And
I saw this coming.
You saw this coming.
Yeah.
As bad as it was, like when they were winless and RG3 was doing absolutely dreadful. You saw that.
Not exactly. I had them pegged at a 7-9.
Okay. Which can win the NFC East, by the way.
I basically, same thing with Cap. It's like, this offense, this is the same offense that Tebow ran to lead the Broncos on their 8-game winning streak. It won't last. Their defenses are surprised by it this year. Next year they'll have planned for it, and everybody will have some form of it, so everyone will know how to defend it, and the Redskins and the Niners won't be going off anymore with it, and I'm right. The Niners aren't exactly going off with it this year.
They really aren't.
And the Redskins...
Seattle's doing it the most, honestly. Seattle's doing more read option stuff than either probably Washington and San Francisco combined.
Well, that's because they need to have Russell Wilson 5 feet away from the line so he has a chance.
He can't see over them unless he's 5 feet away from them. I mean, I just looked at the NFC East before the season started and just had no hope for anybody else other than Washington, because Washington just, they finished the best. And a lot of people argued that it shouldn't have even been Seattle that won that game. That RG3's injury literally cost the Redskins the game from moving on into the playoffs. So going into it, I had Washington pegged as a good team. Maybe RG3 comes out and struggles in his first 2, maybe 3 games, but by that time he should have it on track. They struggle.
Here's the point.
And
when even Dallas starts being able to defend you, you know that it's kind of over in the division, because it's basically your measuring stick. If the Dallas defense can solve you,
so Philadelphia,
yeah, you're done.
They held Philadelphia to 6 points.
Exactly.
I mean, granted, it was Matt Barkley.
For the end of the game. It was Nick Foles at first, and that ain't saying much either. That Oakland game is a mirage. Foles is not going to be an elite quarterback suddenly.
Yeah. I actually saw a T-shirt, because I followed the Philadelphia Phillies on Facebook, and there was actually a shirt that had on, it was Nick Foles, and it showed him, it was almost like Napoleon Dynamite-esque, of him like this cheesy sport coat thrown over his shoulder, and they had 7 footballs floating around his head, and it said Foles number 9.
Oh God!
I was like, that is terrible.
And it'll sell too for the next 2 weeks before Foles comes back down to earth.
That is absolutely terrible. I mean, I like him. I think he's great
as a person.
As a player.
No, he's not a great player. He's not a great player. He is an average player.
Average player who went up against a very, very, very below average team.
Yeah.
So, and besides, apparently Philadelphia is just really great on the road and they can't win at home. So they had that going for them too. Do you want to do you want to put the Giants in this little category of...
Well, you can't spell elite without Eli.
You can't. But you also can't spell... I was going to do a really bad joke there, but I'm not going to bother. I was going to say you can't spell suck without Eli, but that's just a dumb joke.
No, I have a Giants fan, not the one you're thinking of, who said that to me multiple times.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, I guess you could put... You know what? The other one would probably be Baltimore. Let's do Baltimore, because Baltimore's the Super Bowl champs.
No, that was another one. That's another one that I actually...
I saw that. I also foresaw that.
Because Baltimore they were releasing guys left and right, and they paid all this money to Average Joe, and then they took all of his weapons away.
I think it was after they lost... Was it Ed Reed or Paul Kruger? I can't remember. But one of them got released. Whichever one was the latter. I actually texted my younger brother and I said, I don't even think this team will reach 500. And I don't think they will.
I actually think I talked to you about this when they started cutting players. And I was like, wow, they're just handing you the division this year for the Steelers.
Well, no, they handed it to Cincinnati.
Well, yeah, but I wasn't expecting Cincinnati to show up at all either. But that's
neither was I. Story. I was expecting them to be inconsistent.
I was another 8-8 year. And
hey, they still might be. They still might be inconsistent and lose, a lot of games and finish 8-8, 9-7. But I don't think they'll do that bad. But it's a possibility. It is Cincinnati.
And on the Giants front, they don't have the running game, and the receivers caught a bad case of the dropsies, and that's pretty much the story.
Case. They caught a bad case of the dropsies, and I think Ruben Randall was the original carrier of it, and then he infected Hakeem Nixon.
Patient zero,
yeah. And there's no cure for it.
That's kind of like
there's no cure for it apparently because
that's kind of like the fumbleitis that the Steelers running backs had.
Yeah. I mean that was completely different. That was an epidemic. the fumbleitis thing that the Steelers caught was just, and that was the thing. All of my favorite backs were fumbling. Like Dwyer, I love Jonathan Dwyer. Dwyer's great, and he was fumbling. And I didn't know who to blame.
Justin,
And I kind of just wanted to call.
where's my cigarette?
I didn't know who to blame. Like, who do you blame for that? Like, I can't blame Rashard Mendenhall. He's in Arizona. Even though I want to blame Rashard. I want to blame Rashard Mendenhall for everything that has happened to the Steelers.
Because I can't.
Problems of recording in a house
Instead of a studio.
instead of a studio. We don't have the money to afford a studio. The hell?
We're just two guys sitting in a basement with a snowball mic.
Yeah, talking about sports. We try, people. We're doing the best we can. But blame Rashard Mendenhall. I'm gonna get the T-shirts made. Blame Mendenhall. Actually, you could trade. Actually, I'm not gonna go back to Mendenhall. I'm just gonna blame Tim Tebow for everything. We haven't been the same since the Tebow pass to Demaryius Thomas. That's what you gotta blame. Blame Tebow. My brother loves Tebow, but then he wonders why we're doing so bad in Pittsburgh. It's because of Tim Tebow. Damn it.
Tebow cursed him.
Tebow cursed us. Tebow placed a Bible curse on us. Thou shalt never be 500 again.
No, then come on. No, that's another thing. Tebow's he should not get another job.
Tebow should definitely get a job.
He'll sell tickets. He might pull together a few games, but he's not a good quarterback at any stretch.
It's not about being a quarterback. It's about being magical. It's about being just like an aura follows you around that unless you're playing Tom Brady.
That's the thing. Being in the AFC, you have to go through Tom Brady, and he can't do that.
Yeah. Well, we got off topic right there about Tim Tebow, but we stayed on generally the right thing. So right now is normally the time we do picks, so we're gonna do that now. As I stated at the beginning, you beat me last week by 1 game.
1 game.
So
Go Cleveland.
So yeah. So you currently have a 1-game lead on me.
Yeah.
So you can't pick against Kansas City this week. So I'm gonna have to hope that you pick someone else different, because that's the only way I've been able to manage to stay ahead of you is because you constantly pick against Kansas City.
I choose Kansas City this week. They will beat the bye week.
They will be the bye week. And we also don't have a shoe-in win this week because no one's playing the Jets. And it's an even numbered week. So there's no guaranteed pick there because obviously you would just pick the Jets to lose. So next week they come back though, so we can pick the Jets to win, and we will at least go 1-14 next week. Just so you know.
All right. Well,
Just so you know.
14 games this week, so you can go 500.
Yes, exactly. We're gonna start with the extremely exciting. I'm sure we're all gonna be tuning in to the Washington-Minnesota game on Thursday.
I think I'll watch The Big Bang Theory instead.
Oh, that's awful. Well, I'm gonna pick Washington.
I'm gonna pick the Washington Redskins as well. No.
Washington Redskins. Philadelphia. Okay, the Philadelphia Nick Foles over the Aaron Rodgers-less Green Bay. He's gonna probably miss 4 to 6 weeks.
Yeah, that's
so does that affect this at all? Because you saw how bad they were without him.
Yeah, but Aaron Rodgers doesn't play defense, so it's regardless of the situation. The Eagles also don't play defense, so Seneca Wallace can throw against the Eagles' defense, and that's all that matters. I'm picking the Pack.
Oh God, I watched that game, and the Bears' defense is not that great.
Yes, but you got to remember that they're also Jordy is technically the number 3 at this point, and he's the starter.
I understand that. Regardless of Seneca Wallace, whatever you want to talk about, the Philadelphia defense is bad. Philadelphia's defense isn't bad. I mean, they did corral Dallas's offense for a while and made that somewhat of a competitive game, even though their offense was terrible. I like Philadelphia. Philadelphia can't win at home, but apparently on the road they're like,
gangbusters.
They're gangbusters on the road. So I'm going to go with Philadelphia. Jacksonville at Tennessee. How much does Tennessee win by?
They win by Chris Johnson's touchdown total.
They win by a field goal. I say Tennessee.
Oh yeah, Rob Baronis. He's going to win it.
Rob Baronis.
3-0.
Buffalo at Pittsburgh.
EJ Manuel's coming back this week.
Rookie QB.
Rookie QB at Heinz Field. Steelers coming off a loss. They're probably not going to be the easiest place to play in. The Steelers' defense technically is more torturous to a quarterback than Kansas City's. And the Bills, after playing the Saints and just getting Thad Lewis killed, protected very well against Kansas City.
Mm-hmm.
They'll do it again, but damn it all, EJ Manuel is just going to cost them the game. I think the Steelers.
Rookie QBs are not very successful against the Dick LeBeau defense in the past few years. I'm pretty sure only 2 of them have won in the past 18 to 16 games. I'm going to go with Pittsburgh. We got to win a couple games, right? Maybe not, but I'm picking Pittsburgh anyway. Oakland at the Giants, another game that no one cares about. But we have to pick it, so.
The Giants get one step closer to somehow clinching the division.
Yes, with a 6-10 record. With a 6-10 record, I'm gonna go with the Giants too. They had a week to prepare for Oakland. I think you need 3 days to prepare for Oakland.
Nick Foles lit them up. Eli could do that.
Yes, exactly. St. Louis at Indianapolis.
Colts.
They looked bad. Let's make thing one very clear. They looked very bad in that first half.
No. That's the Houston game. Have you not watched the formula for Houston Colts games yet?
Yeah, I understand. Even back when Peyton Manning was playing, it was like, oh man, Houston's gonna make this a game.
Yeah,
well,
it's
apparently
21.
not.
It's 21-0. Oh no, the Texans lost 28-21.
Yeah. Hey man, tendencies and parity is what makes the NFL go round. Seattle at Atlanta.
Yeah, no.
No?
Atlanta at full strength, maybe. But I trust the Legion of Boom over Atlanta's defense.
Yeah. The Legion of Boom could score 3 touchdowns in this game, let alone. So I'm going to go with Seattle. Cincinnati at Baltimore. Huge game for that division. Absolutely huge.
I'm gonna roll a die on this one.
You're going to roll a die. Okay, well, here's a 20-sided die. We're going to...
Okay, if it's
This is live, people. He's literally rolling a die.
11 or above, I'll pick the Ravens.
Okay, if it's 11 or above.
That 8, I'll take the Bengals.
I'm taking the Bengals too. I don't need to roll a die for it. I'm just going to pick the Bengals.
Well, I didn't have a coin.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that's the closest thing we had, I guess. Detroit at Chicago.
I'm going to take the...
Jay Cutler is due to return. That's currently the news. Currently the situation that he's supposed to play. Obviously, barring a setback. So,
well, I'll take Matthew Stafford if he stays healthy.
So you're gonna say
I'm taking the Lions.
You're taking the Lions. I'm taking the Bears.
And that's another thing. I will almost always say Matthew Stafford if he stays healthy as his full name. That's just
Matthew Stafford if he stays healthy. It's pretty good. That's I like that nickname. We're gonna have to send that into Sunday NFL Countdown. See if Chris Berman will roll with that. Carolina at San Francisco. Carolina actually playing a good team.
Yeah.
Actually playing a good team.
And they'll lose. San Francisco.
San Francisco. Carolina's actually going to realize what a good team looks like.
Yeah, all those
empty wins.
Bandwagoners. Yeah, this is what happens when you play a real team.
This is what happens when you play a good team. Houston at Arizona. By the way, I was a huge Case Keenum fan when he was in college, and I love the fact he's playing really well. By the way, I'm just throwing that out there. I liked Case Keenum. I was absolutely appalled at the fact he wasn't drafted. Like, I was so mad at the fact that Case Keenum wasn't drafted.
Wade Phillips is the head coach. No, Cardinals.
I made the joke earlier that when Case Keenum radios into Wade Phillips to get the offensive play call, when he comes in, all right, coach, what are we going to run for first down? Wade Phillips is going to yell, cover 3!
All right.
Arizona. That's what I'm going with. Denver at San Diego.
Chargers.
Really? You're picking the Chargers.
I think the Bolts can hang with them.
They can hang with them. Can they? San Diego over Denver. Wow. I'm picking Denver. This is amazing. You're picking against Peyton Manning, and I'm picking for.
Yes, but it's the Chargers.
Oh man, okay. See, I'm gonna stay with Denver. See, this is like that scenario last week with the Jets. I want to pick San Diego so bad in this game, but I know if I pick San Diego and Denver wins, I'm just gonna be labeled as a Peyton Manning hater, which I am. I understand that, but
there are 3 scenarios in which I pick against Peyton Manning automatically. If one of the cornerbacks on the other team is named Ty Law, if it's in the playoffs, or if they're playing San Diego.
It's in San Diego too.
Oh,
So.
I'm sorry. 4th one. When they're undefeated and playing Dallas.
Those are 4. The 4th one doesn't happen that often.
It's happened 2 out of the last 3 times. The last 3 times Manning has been undefeated and played Dallas, they lost, except this one.
Okay. I'm gonna stick with Denver, but I'll never be so happy to be wrong in my life if Denver loses. But I'm gonna pick Denver. Dallas at New Orleans.
Ugh. Yeah, there's the Row momentum dies here.
Row momentum dies here.
Yeah, New Orleans wins, but Dallas somehow keeps the lead in the division.
I think it's a close game. I don't think the Saints run away with it, but I think
this literally will probably be decided by a field goal. I'm overselling the Saints winning here, but I just right now I'm still trusting Drew Brees over Dallas, and even though they're getting Ware back, Drew Brees can light up the Dallas defense.
Drew Brees can light up any defense that's not the Jets on an odd-numbered week. So I'm gonna.
He still did it.
I know he still did it, but it didn't matter in the end. I'm gonna go with New Orleans too. And then this is okay. We had the book. This is the best bookend for any NFL week ever. We start out on Thursday with Washington and Minnesota, who have combined for 3 wins.
So bad.
Right? 3 wins.
Yeah, something like that.
We then finish with Miami and Tampa Bay on Monday, who have also combined for 3 wins.
I don't even know. Can I pick a tie?
No, you can't pick a tie. You have to choose one of them. You want to roll the die again?
Go first.
I'm gonna go with the team that actually has a win, Miami. The best team out of Florida that is still under 500. I'm gonna go with Miami.
That's another game. What's on Monday nights that I can watch instead?
Probably basketball, I think.
Yeah, I'll probably be watching basketball, and I really want to pick Tampa Bay. I really do, but I'm going to pick the Dolphins.
You're going to pick the Dolphins? I was expecting you to pick Tampa Bay there. Just out of sheer I don't care.
You know what? Fuck it, we'll do it live. I'm picking the Bucks.
You're picking the Bucks? Warren Sapp would be proud. Warren Sapp would be proud.
No, it's going for...
You're just going for the tie. You're just going to up your lead, I guess. See, that's the thing now. If Tampa Bay does win, now you look like a genius.
Well, I wanted to pick Tampa Bay. You're
that's what I'm saying. You were sitting here saying, I want to pick Tampa Bay. And you're like, maybe not, I'll pick Miami. But, if your intuition guides you to foreseeing Tampa Bay's first win, and you're like Nostradamus.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wish my intuition would have led to me picking better in fantasy football. Draft the Chiefs defense, drop them. Pick Tom Brady. He has an off week every week until I bench him.
By the way, I did convince you. I want to make something very clear. I did sort of push you to draft Tom Brady, and I kind of feel bad about it.
But you drafted Cap with the next pick.
I did. I drafted Cap with the following pick, so we're in this. We're in the same boat.
Romo was off the board. That's why.
Romo was off the. I wasn't gonna draft Romo. The hell's wrong with you? All right. Well, that's it for this episode. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I'm Keiper.
And I'm Tobin.
And we'll see you next week.